Kia ora tātou. Ngā mihi atu kia koutou. Ko ai au, ko Nireaha Pirika taku ingoa. Ko whakapau ngākau, ngā pai maunga o oku tupuna, rangitārere, au Uenukukopako, tūteniu, me te roro tarangi. Ko puke poto te maunga, ko waingahe tawa erere atu putu atu ki te rotorua nui a ka humatomo moi. Ko ruamata te marae, ko te ure o Uenukukopako te iwi, ko Ngāti te kanawa, te hapu. Ngā mihi atu kia koutou. Before we get started, I want to introduce this guy on my left. This guy has been on this journey with myself right from the very start. He's got a white face, but we don't see him as a Pākehā. The way we see him is that he married my cousin. Yeah. And with that, his children are Ngāti Uenukukopako, his grandchildren are Ngāti Uenukukopako. So he's whānau. However, his origins date all the way back to the Vikings. He does have some Māori blood, and he hails from Putaruru. So, Ralph.
Kia ora koutou. Ralph Mosen. I married into the hapu 40 years ago, and my princess informed me very quickly that I married the hapu, not just her. And we've worked ever since. So we're going to split this up a little bit in two parts. Nireaha is going to talk about the journey that got us underway, and then I'll finish off with a little bit just talking about the partnerships that got us over the line.
Ka pai. We actually make a good tag team when we're dealing with the likes of government departments and local government. He's usually the bad guy and I'm the good guy. But however, we get a lot of things done that way. It all hinders around relationships, and I heard that a lot during this wānanga here. And we see the same thing. You've got to build a trusting relationship. If there's no trust, then there's a no-go. And also part of our whole journey has been about listening, about, hearing their side, but they also got to hear our side. And at the end of the day, it's not their outcome, it's our outcome. And we need to be strong on that. So through this journey, we started way back in 2010, and I'm going, where the hell was I when we had this New Zealand Māori Housing Conferences? This is our first time at a conference. But however, everything that's been said, we've also followed. So that's cool. We're all on the same wavelength when we're talking about Māori in general. So when we started way back in 2010, we sent out a needs analyst survey to our people. Out of that needs analyst survey, about 28% we got returned, which I thought, oh, gee, that's not very good. But we were told later, oh no, that's a pretty good rate. So going from there, 100% within that needs analyst survey told us there was a concern about housing way back in 2010. So we followed that travel. That pathway. In 2012, we bought the whenua. It had to be in Aotearoa, and it's also straight across from the Rotakawa School, which will be returned to the hapu as well. So that was a good place to start our housing, and there was already housing on there, substandard, but it was still something that we could still offer our people. And again, it is about looking after our people. It's not about making money, it's about looking after our people. How do we do that when we got nothing? So we've got to start somewhere. If we keep talking about it, then you're still getting nowhere. So we've been the doers. and getting this off the ground for our hapu. And I must mihi to the Minister, Megan Woods. She actually said Uenukukopako pretty well. Yeah. Ngā mihi mō tō api, mō tātou hapu, no reira ngā mihi. Anyway, she forgot to mention it wasn't 4.2, it was 4.2 plus GST. Yeah? So it was actually 4.8 mil. And you got to also factor that in. If you're not GST registered, you got to put that in and make sure that they put that in the grant for when you do these builds. So going back to where we ended up with kāinga order, there wasn't too much success with kāinga order, to be honest. I think they wanted too much, and it was their kaupapa, not ours. So, but however, we stuck in there, and we actually formed a relationship with the guys that were there representing kāinga order. But then came the opportunity with the mahi group, and this is where it all took off for us at Uenukukopako. So with the mahi group, and we've had a lot of challenges over that time. I think it was around about 2020, I think, that we got when mahi group came on board with us. But ever since that, you know, we've had problems with COVID, we've had problems with supply of materials, we've had increases in prices. We've actually also had wet weather. Yeah, we've had break-ins into our whares. But moving forward, we still need to supply a house, a home for our people. So, and I heard today, a house, we can supply a house. I think that's the easy part. You now have to turn that house into a home, and that home to create a thriving community. And that's what we're trying to do in our papakainga at Uenukukopako. Still early days. I'm pretty sure that we're going to find some ups and downs. But if we work for it, communicate. Communication is a big word. How often do people communicate to each other? It's still about building relationships with our whānau. So we want to take our people back to where they were taken from. So way back in the day, under the Public Works Act, our people were moved out of our area and placed at Port Block. A lot of you people may know where Port Block is. So they were moved on the other side of Rotorua, disconnecting them to their whenua. We want to bring them back. We want Ngāti Uenukukopako to thrive. But if we are thriving, then everybody around us will thrive. That's what we're trying to create. Not just for Uenukukopako, but everybody that's in our rohe. We must take care of our people, because this is what this is about, isn't it? It's about our people. Māori. Māori in general. And what that grant has done to us has enabled us. And I heard Willie Jackson talk about enable. That's exactly what it's doing. It's enabling us to thrive. Still early days. But, you know, all the speakers that have been prior to us, awesome kōrero. And it was good to hear that a lot of what they were talking about, we also went through that and implemented as well. But like I said, where the hell were we 10 years ago? We could have been here a lot earlier. However, it is what it is. But we're glad that we are able to provide for our people, and that, you know, going forward is the hard bit. We got to make a house, a home. And one of the things that I heard from Ngāti Tahu, Ngāti Pāwa, was about bringing those children up. We are also looking at providing for our children within our homes. You've got to start somewhere. We're starting small. However, I thought we weren't going to start another project, but we're looking into another project that will look into housing a lot of our single parents where there is a need here in Rotorua. But we saw our first priority as family and children to start with. We've only got 15 homes on the property. It's a start.
Kia ora, Ned. For those of you who walked through Kakaharoa yesterday, you'll see that we've designed a papakainga, a genuine papakainga, and it all came from a series of seminars up at Ōwhata Marae back in 2013, and it identified the hapu wanted east side to be child-friendly, and the hapu took that on board. We've been advocating over many different taki around child-friendly east side Rotorua, and when we got into the process of developing the papakainga, that was the first and foremost thing that we put at the top of our mind. And with regards to relationships, there's been a lot of them that we've developed over the journey, and Nireaha's talked about kāinga ora. We've had some wonderful conversations with them, walked down a few pathways that didn't quite lead to where we could go any further, and we had to backtrack and start again. But that was in the early days when, to be fair, we didn't know what we didn't know, and it was very early days for kāinga ora also. Things started to move when we got involved with Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, and I've got to put a special word in here. Some of you might or might not know her, and that was Trudy Whitlow from MHUD. She worked for Kararaina. Now, she was a little blonde Aussie battler, but boy, did she work for us, and she really made things happen, and to the extent that Nireaha and myself, we didn't even have to write up an application form. She did it all for us and really assisted us through the channels which we didn't know we had to go through, but she delivered a grant. Now, we also had a very special relationship with Habitat for Humanity. Very early on, we decided that we did not want to be the landlord. Nireaha did not want to be the ogre going and knocking on the auntie's door and saying, "Hey, auntie, you haven't paid your bill today." So we decided that we wanted a community housing provider. We needed income-related rental subsidies to make the project viable because we didn't have the cash to do the building all ourselves. And we had a good look around, and when we had a look at Habitat, we saw that the synergy between the kaupapa of Habitat and what our trust had put together as their strategy in strategic meetings, they almost dovetailed. So it was a no-brainer for us. And the relationship with Habitat has managed to bring not only written undertakings from MHUD that will get market rental for 10 years on our properties, which we could then take and put in front of our bank, which services a mortgage. So basically, it's kāinga ora, it's Te Puni Kōkiri, it's MSD, it's Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, all partners in the Mahi group, it's Habitat, and it is also BNZ, who have come kicking and screaming into the 20th century over the 2-3 years that we've been talking with them, but they have made some very significant changes within BNZ as well. So it wouldn't have happened without any one of all of those partners working together. And of course, underlying it all has been the support of the aunties and the uncles. we have had amazing support from the hapu, because yes, we are a reasonably big hapu. We've how many beneficiaries? 7,000 all up on whakapaunaka aggregated. But we don't have a lot of resourcing available to us, so it has been an interesting journey. We both swore we'd never ever do it again once we got over the line. Well, you saw those houses that on the 19th of next month we will officially open, and we're already planning our next development, which will be 50 houses. So watch this space. Maybe in 2 years' time we can talk to that.
I have a bit of a whittle to our ministers. They give a amount to kāinga ora at a very low interest rate. Why can't they give it to Māori? I'm seeing that as a whittle to our ministers. It could be, this is election year. And I must apologise, Pōtaka. I've known Pōtaka only just recently. He was on our tag board, and he's gone and run away and taken up the political arena. But however, this is election year. I think you should be looking at making it easier for Māori to provide for their own. And by doing that, the interest rate at the moment is 8.5, which is way higher than we ever thought it would reach. Way back in the day when we got the grant, it was sitting around about 3%. Now it's 8.5, it's jumped quite a bit. But the Treasury can surely give money to the Māori, and like that thing said, it was about, you give us the resource and just bugger off. We know what we need to provide. Yeah, and I totally agree with some of the comments that's come from all the key speakers, and it's awesome. It's awesome. Awesome kōrero. Kia ora tātou, ngā mihi atu kia o koutou katoa.